Hey everybody, welcome to Obscurities in Miniature, and I've got a real obscure one because, well, it's Gus. You guys know Gus, right? This is Gus. That's about as obscure of name. Like, what kind of name is that? I don't know. Does it stand for something? You got me. But Gus here, folks, looks suspiciously like a very kitted out GM Sniper or something GM Sniper related. And it's interesting because I've seen many comments online griping about Chinese kits, about how spiky and pointy they are, how over designed. And I gotta say, that looks pretty reasonable in my opinion. Any other pictures of him? I mean, almost looks like a 79 ground type shield going on there. Anyway, this thing looked pretty cool, and I gotta say, of the box sizes that we often deal with on this channel, because I like, well, large model kits to build, this feels almost like a throwback to an old, like, Sursa 2005 Master Grade kit. It's not huge by any means. I don't even see the scale on this thing anywhere. I mean, I'm pretty sure, like, really sure, it's supposed to be a 1/100th. Yeah. Right there, it even says it. But that's about all the info, at least on the box, which is kind of interesting. Oftentimes, you know, they have display pictures on the sides, not this time around. So I'm trying to peel this out of the case. You can get a look at all the goodies inside. So part separation in terms of color looks pretty decent. At this point, I'd be kind of shocked for a Chinese kit that didn't have really nice color separation. It's about par of the course these days. That's a good sized chunky 5-piece. Get out of here. I like that we're seeing more of the bending, twisting, curving blades, as well as the ignited and regular beam sabers. It's kind of a cool touch. Sadly, after yanking all of that out, there is no base included, which is not a huge deal breaker as long as it can actually carry its own weight, you know. After having done my 8 Sky Defender, this is nothing. Like, looking at this, that's nothing. Have I ever shown the Sky Defender on this channel? I've had it since like the summer, I think, or a while now. If you want to see it, I'm more than happy to whip it out. I don't know about how whipping it out because the thing is absolutely massive, but you know. Alright, let's take a look. That's it. Wow. Now, obviously, there are multiple runners of some of these, but still, wow. That's pretty straightforward. I'm guessing, for once in a while, I'm not having to build an inner frame. I'm not heartbroken over that. Huh. Now, you know what's weird is you can see that there's like the magenta colored steps for putting things in order, but then they don't have the parts actually in color on the page. I do like the paint apps, or I should say the color apps, how they have it designed. So it does not actually have a sniper rifle, or maybe it does and I don't know what I'm talking about, but what seems to be a very traditional beam rifle. Again, it looks like with the way that the handle is made, it makes me think of like 79, you know, 8th team era. The backpack certainly doesn't. Actually, you know what, the backpack, what does that backpack remind me of? I don't even know. I love those thrusters though in the legs. Big, huge mobility thrusters are always cool. So, I mean, oh, it's kind of neat. It's got the kneecap saber holsters. It doesn't look overtly complex, I gotta say. I'm actually kind of looking forward to that. So let's all cross our fingers and hope for a fairly easy build. And hopefully I will have those results for you shortly. So stick around. Let's see how it turns out. Hey everybody, it's Gus. Gus is on camera. Look at Gus. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing here. I couldn't help myself. I gotta say, Gus is a looker. I like him. He's got those thick leg booster armor setups there that I really enjoy. I like a very mobile suit. And that's one thing about Gus. Old Gus here. Gus Chiggins. Thinking of Will Ferrell stuff. Completely lost my train of thought. Is very much in the line of a traditional mobile suit. That's what I was going to go with. Rather than the typical pointy, sharp-edged, more fantasy wuxia-inspired stuff that we tend to see with a lot of the Chinese model makers. And that's a good thing. As much as I love the fantasy-infused mecha, it is nice to see something kind of going back to the styles that really made it popular. Not to say that, you know, fantastical mech machines haven't been a thing in, like, the fandom since forever. Nice, simple backpack. Actually, I gotta say, everything about this was pretty straightforward. There's no funky internal skeleton we gotta build, no die-cast parts, no over-the-top plethora of extra, you know, optional bits. He's just nice, straightforward. I guess one of the things is all of the orange parts on him do have a light bluish, what was it, like a turquoise option? But you don't see a lot of orange like that. The orange kind of pops to me with the various blues and grays in there. So I'm enjoying it. In terms of posability, nice and flexible. Thrusters, you know, have a good range of movement everywhere. The only real issue I've got with this guy is the skirt armor. And as you can see, you can kind of see the cap of the joint, and they really can pop off at a moment's notice. They don't really lock in. You'll hear a nice snap on it, but it doesn't want to stay there. Now, if I'm remembering correctly, he does have a pull-out cockpit. Now I just popped something off, and I don't remember how to do it now. Or keep it on camera. We're just going to put that back. There is a little pilot figure inside there, which is kind of cool. I obviously do... Oh, there we go. Durr. It's hard to see him or her, but there is a pilot in there. There was a pilot, and now where they went is anybody's guess. I honestly don't see them now. They're gone. Okay, well, take comfort in knowing that there was a pilot at one point. Oh, it's still in there. Duh, I just knocked his console off. So that's kind of cool to see. We don't see that a lot with these Chinese kits. So kudos to the designers for bothering to include that. We're just going to stick that back in there and pretend that we didn't do that. In terms of accessories, as I was mentioning, there aren't a whole lot. You got your shield right here, which is pretty straightforward. You got these rather large, I don't remember how to pull them out now, rather large beam saber blades, or the much cooler, sharp and able to draw blood curved blade, and it's really big. There is the smaller one tucked away in the forearm, and then we finally have the rifle as well. Pretty straightforward. Nothing too fancy, nothing too, you know, I don't want to say unique. Maybe it's a nice looking kit, but it is pretty unique. It's pretty straightforward in terms of what you're getting yourself into there, which honestly, with all the other crazy stuff that I've built, is kind of a nice change of pace. It seems to be pretty standard 1/100th scale as well. At least the last time I built a 1/100th kit. Feels like it's kind of in that realm in terms of size. So everything that I've seen about this really points it in a nice direction for me. It's not super pricey. I mean, I got mine, I think, for like $40. That's pretty fair, I'd say, in today's volatile market when it comes to this stuff. And considering how often we see these kits shoot upwards of 70, 80 US dollars, you know, easily popping over 100 on some of the more complex stuff, or motor nuclear kits, or, you know. So the fact that it's reasonably priced, doesn't have a whole lot of extra flair, not a lot of extra bells and whistles, unless that's something you're really looking for. But I would say if you're looking for standard mobile suits in the first place, you're probably not looking for all those bells and whistles. And if you are, well, you know, there's always the typical Bandai kits. Or dare I suggest it, a P Bandai exclusive. But that's, no thanks, not a fan. Or I am a fan, but then I don't like the marketing of it. But that's a whole different story for a whole different time. And if you do want to see a nice, solid representation of something that isn't as elaborate as a lot of the other crazy kits out there, and especially in my collection, I do think Gus here is a nice addition in that regard. And would probably look pretty well in place with a lot of Bandai's master grade kits. So, with that said then, this has been High Lord Tamberlane with Obscurities and Miniatures, saying thanks for watching, and we'll see you back here soon. Bye-bye.